Good afternoon, judges. Good afternoon, investors. Good afternoon, journalists. Good afternoon, the public. My name is Maxwell Dankwa, and with me, and we are Team MAW Capital. Today, we are presenting a pitch on why MTN, which is Scancom PLC, trading under the ticker MTN Ghana, is a strong buy. That is our recommendation. Okay, so when we talk about MTN, what comes to mind is basic mobile network service, but it's way more than that. Let's look at the history of the background to MTN. The telco company was established in 1996, it IPO'd somewhere in 2018, got listed that same year, somewhere in the third quarter. Its initial offering price was 75 pesos, and currently it's ranked second by way of market cap, something to the north of 16 billion. So why is MTN so highly valued? Let's look at the product offerings and services. Cutting edge internet service. MTN is making huge strides in that space. Digital business solutions. MTN is one of the few companies in Ghana in the tech space to be pioneering a super app. Most of you have heard about Ayoba. It's aiming to become a one-stop shop for almost everything from e-commerce to utilities to whatever. Now, financial technology tools. For this, I need not say much. We'll lay emphasis on it later, but I think it speaks for itself. Then broad network coverage. Going hard on investments, MTN Ghana has been plowing into their space of technological infrastructure. They have been putting a lot of money in that space and it's bearing dividends, as we will explain later.
Now let's talk about valuation. So the chart on your screen is share price trend from MTN's inception on the Ghana Stock Exchange. Now this indicates a bullish rally with more gains to be realized. Now MTN's current share price is 1.32 pesos, and with a free cash flow to equity model, we pegged its fair value at 2.75 pesos. And by this, MTN is undervalued by 52.1%. Now MTN's return on equity is 51.3%, and its year-to-date return is 98.44%. Now we believe MTN is sacrificing today for tomorrow. Why is this? Now in the past 25 years, MTN has spent $6 billion in capex investment. Now in 2021 alone, MTN has spent over 200 million in capex investments as well, and this is the highest investment in a single calendar year for the past decade. Now, MTN has built over 4,100 sites in its 25 years experience or existence, resulting in 73% and 98% nationwide coverage in its 4G and 3G respectively. Now this, according to analysts, indicates a growth forecast in earnings by 20.5% per annum within the next 5 years. Now the chart on your screen indicates MTN's financial health. Now what you see here is a 5-year summary of MTN's total revenue and operating profits. Now this is from 2016 to 2020. And this indicates an upward trajectory, indicating that MTN has a good or strong financial health. Now MTN's earnings per share is 0.15 Ghana cedis. Its net profit margin is 24.5%, indicating a 1.2 percentage point increase as against the previous quarter. MTN's price to equity ratio is 9, and MTN's debt to equity ratio is 17.3%. And this is actually satisfactory based on the fact that its operating cash flow covers it by 441.5%.
Okay, so you've heard the numbers. Now let's explain to you what the plan is and why those numbers are the way they are. Unique business model. MTN Ghana is strategically positioned because of this particular plan that they have in place. It's called Bright Strategy. In this plan, there are key areas of focus are best customer experience, returns and efficiency focus. That's with the focus on managing capital. Sorry about that. Ignite commercial performance, growth through data and digitalization, and this has been propelled over the last 12 months with the onset of COVID-19, and also technology excellence. Okay, so following up on the same unique business model, the main drivers are the Ambition 2025, and within that Ambition 2025, they are centric on these 5 areas. They are going to go hard on data, mobile money, voice, digital, and enterprise services. Ambition 2025 basically is hoping to align MTN to take charge of the ever-changing digital landscape, and they intend to do that through the following means. 1, build the largest and most valuable platforms, driving the industry-leading connectivity and operations, create shared value that's between them and the customers, and accelerate portfolio transformation. And they intend to also, and when you water this down, how this is going to translate is with the focus on fintech, mobile money, digital services like Ayoba, enterprise business solutions, a network as a service, and API marketplace where they are aiming to interface their already existing technology infrastructure with that of app developers. Now, market dynamics. Let's really size up MTN and how well they are positioned through Porter's 5 analysis. So first, competition in the industry. MTN commands a very impressive 57% market share. They are unbeatable in that space and in the foreseeable future. And they aren't slowing down or relenting. They tend to go deeper with capex and whatnot. Potential of new entrants. Given their almost 25-year experience or portfolio in that space, you can see that MTN has established a dominance and they have invested enough capital. And they've raised the bar so high that no new entrant stands a dog's chance to unseat them. Power of supplies. MTN offers the most business in that space, so you can understand that when it comes to value proposition with any form of business, suppliers in telco go to MTN to do business. They don't have any other option if they want to make a profit. Power of customers. Now, this one, it depends on which end of the table you sit. Most people argue that MTN is a monopoly, but for an investor, it means that that is where your smart money should go. MTN offers the most business, they render the best services imaginable, so customers don't really have an alternative, and that's good news if you're an investor. Threat of substitute products is more or less linked to the market share and potential of new entrants, because MTN has diversified its nature of business, such that they are not just a mobile service provider, they are an ISP, they are a business solutions provider, they are a digital solutions provider, and everyone can go to them and have all these services available to them at, of course, a premium price.
And here we talk about its SWOT analysis. Looking at the strength, MTN has a strong financial position, largest market share, and with its weaknesses, it has regulatory compliance, which it's actually navigating. Now, fiber cable cards are also weaknesses MTN experienced in the past, and they're actually dealing with that with increased investment in capex. Now, opportunity. If you see an increasing market demand, where in the face of COVID-19, there has been a surge in the demand for internet-related services, and of which MTN is really positioned, looking at its market size of about 57%, is really positioned well to tap into that opportunity and maximize it. And when the threats, look at macroeconomic factors of which MTN is easily trying to navigate through its waters. Now, great stability to MTN is also trying to minimize that with its investment in capex as well. Now, look at the snowflake analysis. From this, we could actually tell MTN has a strong historical performance, and this translates into its current value, making it the second highest market cap company on the JSE with about 16 billion Ghana cedis. Now, from what we saw in the previous slide, we actually tell MTN has a good health, a good financial health, and they have a consistent payment in their dividends. And this translates into their strong future margins, which analysts project its earnings to be 20.5% per annum in the next 5 years. Now, as stated, revenue growth, analysts also project revenue growth of 17.8% per annum over the next 5 years, and earnings growth rate of 20.5% over the next 5 years. Bear in mind that this is actually higher than the existing inflation rate, that is 9.28, and also the savings rate of 9.1. And all that we've said is attributable to incredible management decisions, including good investments made by the firm. And taking MTN to the future is its mobile money, its fintech solution, MOMO. It's leading a prospect with fintech transaction to hit 1 trillion Ghana cedis, as stated by the Honorable Finance Minister.
And if all this didn't sell you on, perhaps this video would do that, would do justice.
There are many ways to get around, but there's only one way to pay. Momo? Sure. So many styles to choose, but there's only one sure way to pay. Momo? Yes. There's so many you can buy, but there's only one sure way to pay. Momo? Sure. There's so much variety, but there's only one sure way to pay. There's so many ways to get together, but there's only one sure way to pay. Got a payment to make? Use MTN MOMO and enjoy real convenience in all your financial transactions. Live life the brighter way with MTN.
Okay, so this basically sums up the direction of MTN, diversifying their business and looking towards the future. So as any investor who's looking to make money and capital gains for that matter in the medium, short, and even long term, MTN is where you should be. So that basically sums up our pitch for why MTN is a strong buy. Thank you so much. We are Team MAW Capital.
All right, thank you very much.
Time for questions, so you can still hold on to it. I'm sure you'll be referring to slides.
So, who are the competitors of MTN on the stock market? Is MTN competing with any of the stocks on the market?
So with that question, I would approach it on two fronts. So in terms of whether it's a good security, I could make an argument that yes, they are competing on several fronts, but in terms of in the industry, there's not quite any competitor that I know. So MTN is very much alone in that category.
Okay. So, in your analysis, you did a valuation of MTN, right?
Yeah.
What was the present value, the fair value?
2.75.
What is the current price of it?
1.32 pesos.
So would you say it's overpriced or underpriced?
It's underpriced.
And what are you communicating? How would you advise or convince any potential investor to buy shares of MTN?
Okay, so if it's underpriced over here and with the various analysis that we've shown over here, it makes every investor aware that MTN has a potential for growth. And even in the past 2 weeks, if you follow the trends on the stock markets, you actually realize that, like that's the Ghana Stock Exchange. You realize that MTN, the prices have been increasing from 1 cedi 21 pesos all the way to 1 cedi 33 pesos, and just before the time you came here, it's actually dropped by 0.01. That is 1 cedi 32 pesos, indicating the fact that MTN has the potential to grow at a very rapid rate. So I think it's a good buy for the investor.
So if you met a potential investor who would want to buy shares of any stock because he or she wants dividends, would you recommend MTN? Do you understand my question?
Yes, I do. Okay, so yes, first of all, yes, dividends. Good. I would make the investor aware that okay, yes, you want dividends, and MTN is one consistent with paying dividends, and even though it's not so strong in terms of the margins, because based on the capex investment that they are making, it's more like they are sacrificing a bit of the margins for dividends as against capital gains. But that is actually in the market period or in the very short run. But if you look at the trajectory, ambition 2025, if the investor is looking for a long-term investment, which is going to be a very bullish gain for them, I would advise they invest in MTN.
How about capital gains? Any capital acquisition?
Capital gains, I think MTN is perfect. Looking at its trajectory, right from its IPO date, 0.5 pesos, 75 pesos, as against now, looking at the trajectory of MTN, I would advise every investor, well, if your main aim is capital gains, MTN is your one shot.
Can you take me through the price of MTN shares right from 2020?
Okay, so our price trend doesn't.
You have to play.
The video again.
No. It's better than one. It's this. But it's better than one. So we have to project it for it to come separately.
Okay, so where is the mouse?
So
entities. This is the whole.
This is the whole from, as I said, from its
Since
inception, since listing on the Ghana Stock Exchange. So right over here, it was 75 persons. That's somewhere in September 2018, and this has been the trajectory throughout. And this is its current price, 132 persons.
So at this price, would you say that, would you tell any investor, potential investor, that it's at its peak or that should be?
Okay, so at this, the phase that the MTN stock is in, so many people could argue that perhaps it's being overbought or perhaps it's attained an ATH or an all-time high. But if you look at things from a fundamental perspective, the potential upsides still remain high based on how they are tackling so many things like their S&P categorization. Now they are navigating that landscape by coming to terms with certain things and making adjustments to suit regulation, what regulation demands, and also investor confidence in MTN is high given there are various announcements and their earnings reports which indicate heavy investments in the space of capex in particular, which should be a point of interest given that the future is digital and MTN is looking towards that.
You have an idea the stock beta from where?
At the level beta.
The stock beta. Pointing.
Stop data.
Stock
beta.
The beta of MTN.
You mean the ticker?
Beta. B-E-T-A. Beta.
Honestly, the only beta I know when I was doing the fair value calculation is the level beta, that's 0.8. But for a stock beta,
Okay, so let me put it this way. How do you think MTN's stock responds to any change in the composite index?
Oh, okay. So I personally, I think it's directly proportional, and MTN actually from its inception to now, MTN is one of the major drivers of the composite index. So it's not vice versa, and I feel I know MTN has a bigger role to play. So when MTN actually increases, it has a role to play with the increase in the composite index. And I think in one news report somewhere last month, somewhere in September, the composite index dropped because of changes in MTN's dividends that they brought out. So I think MTN actually affects the composite index due to its size and its contribution towards the GSE.
So, in your estimation, in your analysis, what are some of the emerging threats of MTN could face? Is something that will have an effect on their share price?
Okay, so I think I'm moving to the Swots Analysis. Okay, so what's going to have an effect, and it's even evidence in the price trend analysis or the price trend image, when things like regulatory hurdles would always pose a threat to any kind of company, how hostile its operating environment is, and MTN has done its best to navigate it. Although initially, if you saw how there was so much hostility around the news and MTN's initial stance before it softened the price of the stock reacted. So immediately, I'd say regulation could be a threat. And of course, I'm not leaving out the fiber cable, the deep sea cable cutting issue, which caused an outage for the network, which obviously points to one frailty of the company. But they are doubling down in that space and investing heavily, so that should be taken care of. But of course, that is basically a force majeure. It's like an event of nature. You can't really predict it.
So that should be all.